Welcome back to the show. It is Christine Jewell, and today we are talking about the hidden skeletons in our closet: porn addictions, sex addictions, double lives, things that are keeping us walking in tightropes, walking in eggshells, feeling like we're losing ourselves. For those of you that are in bondage to addiction, that have been struggling with breaking free from the chains of addiction, today's podcast is for you. I'm joined by Sathiya Sam. He's a dear friend. I love this guy. I love what he's up to. They've helped over 1,000 people, 1,000 men break free from porn addictions. He was an addict himself for 15 years. And we're going to share some raw, real, vulnerable stories of our own walk with this, myself and my life growing up with my father, him from his personal life. We believe stories are the way, we can relate to each other. You guys are not alone. We're going to be also talking about the pillars of what it actually takes to break free. We are not here to shame. We're not here to judge. And we're not here to talk about behavior modification. In fact, we don't even talk about the behavior so much as what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your spirit, and how you start to walk and live in your marriage and your life as a free man and woman. You guys do not want to miss today's episode. Let's dive into the conversation. All right. Here we are. Sathiya, I'm so happy to have you joining me today.
Thank you for having me. We made it. My newborn son interrupted our schedule a little bit, but we finally made this happen.
We're never going to complain about a blessing.
No, not
the real
at all.
treasure.
I know.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right into it. We've already done introductions. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. I had the privilege of being on your podcast a while back, and I just have such a heart for what you're doing for this conversation. It's so needed. I feel like it's the catalyst to bring marriages back together, families back together. Like it really is. I'm just going to start out the gate before we jump into your story. If you had one word, one piece of wisdom, like the one thing that you would love to just drop into people's hearts and minds, if you had a chip and you could put it into people's brain and all of a sudden it's boom, they would just get it. What is the one core message that you really hope that people will receive?
Okay, I share this. Anytime a podcaster gives me a chance to answer a question like this, I usually say the same thing. We've been sold a lie, which is that knowledge is power. And that's simply not true, because we are the most knowledgeable society of all time, and we've never been more powerless. The truth is, knowledge is potential. Knowledge with action is real power. That's why James wrote scripturally that faith without works is dead. Yes. And so you're going to listen to some great content. We're about to have an amazing conversation together.
Yeah, we are.
Purpose in your heart to find one thing that you can act on. And that's what's going to make this time worth your while. And even a little action is better than a lot of knowledge. And this is coming from somebody who's brainy, academic, university researcher. I had to learn this one the hard way, but knowledge is incredibly powerful when it's coupled with action. If faith without works is dead, faith with works is deadly.
Hey, it's Christine. I'm interrupting our program for a minute to ask you a question. Could you use a breakthrough right now? What is the one area of your life that you know that if you had a breakthrough in this one area, if you broke through this wall of resistance, this challenge that you're facing, this mountain, that it would change the game for you in every other area of your life? Listen, if I'm talking to you right now, I want to let you know about a 30-day breakthrough coaching experience that I'm offering up for a limited time. It's where I'm going to work with 3 people very intimately, one-on-one. There's going to be daily touch points, daily action steps, and the opportunity to talk to me directly a couple times a week. And we're going to get to work on that one area of your life that is the domino that's going to knock down every other thing, that is just going to open the door. So here's who it's for. It's for those of you who are ready to roll up your sleeves, get to work. You want to execute at a high level. You want that person in your corner for support to call you out on the blind spots. It's also for those of you who don't want to deal with surface level fixes anymore. You want to get to the root of the problem. We're going to pluck the root out and we are going to clear the path. It might be mental operating systems. It might be spiritual stuff going on. It might be as simple as getting into full decision and getting clear action steps. So if I'm talking to you right now and you are ready for a breakthrough, click on the link below. There's going to be a short application for you to fill out. Once our team receives that, if we think it's a fit, we're going to send you the offer with all the details, the pricing, the investment, and the clear next step. You guys, if the program is full, we'll drop you into the wait list. Again, if it's a fit, we'll let you know when a spot opens up. So if you are ready for a breakthrough in this season of life, click on the link, fill out the application. I'll see you on the other side. Ooh, come on. With faith without works is dead. Faith with works is deadly. It's a weapon.
Yeah.
It's a weapon to yield results. Yeah, it's so good. I love that. And yes, we are speaking to everyone today, but specifically to those of you who find yourself in a very logical, analytical mind. You like to figure everything out and have all the information before you move on it. And it's a beautiful thing. The mind and knowledge can also become a cage.
Yeah.
Can also become a cage. So let's dive in, y'all. We're going to be talking about addictions today, how to break free from addictions, how to really walk as a free man, a free woman. This is not just for men. It's for any of us who are struggling with addiction. We're living maybe in shame. There's some things going on in our life, some behaviors, sexual behaviors, porn addictions. And we're going to be talking about porn, but we're not just going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about addiction in general and that desire inside of us that's unmet. We want to really invite you guys into this conversation, share some raw, real stories. I'm going to ask you to share some stories. I'll probably share some stories too. I like to get raw and vulnerable on these shows just to let people know. So often we think we're alone, but we're not. And it's actually that we're the majority in the room, but we feel isolated. And that is the lie of the enemy to keep us enslaved. Hey, tell us a little bit of your backstory. First of all, why are we having this conversation today? What allows you to sit on the other side of the screen where you're in Canada, I'm in the US, to be able to share this powerful story? Take us a little bit through your background, through your testimony.
This was not the career path I had dreamt of as a little boy, which I don't think anyone's surprised to hear. My story really starts at the age of 11 in the computer lab of my Christian school. That's where I was first exposed to pornography. I am the product of two immigrant parents. Both my parents are Indian, and they immigrated to Canada to give us a better life. My dad is a third generation pastor. So grandpa and great grandpa, all pastors. And then the fourth generation up is where there was a conversion from Hinduism to Christianity. And so I grew up with, I would say, I guess a relatively kind of sheltered upbringing, you could say, or I certainly was not aware that there was explicit content. I had no idea that was even really a thing. Yeah. And it was just a friend who came to me and was like, hey, my buddy said, go check out this website. I think he knew what it was. He was pretending he didn't.
Right.
And then lo and behold, it was adult content. I was actually I was like pre-puberty. So it wasn't like, and then I became addicted overnight. It just planted a seed. As it does for most young boys or young women. It kind of just plants a seed of what was that? A little bit of curiosity. And by the time I was in high school, I was watching pretty regularly, told myself I could always stop. And then I was very academic. I skipped a grade. I got accepted into a really prestigious kind of pre-med program. I was studying really hard. And I would say it was in my undergrad, that's where I really became addicted to pornography because I had so much academic pressure. I had 5 figures in research grants. So I was doing research while I was studying and I was volunteering and I had all this stuff going on. And porn was the only way I knew how to cope with everything that was on my plate. I'm still serving on worship teams. I'm involved in my local church. I'm a relatively devout believer for the most part, but I have a dual life at the same time, and I really have no idea what to do. I'll cut a long story short, but at the end of my undergrad is where I really made, I would say, a proper commitment to Christ. I think prior to that, I was riding the coattails of my parents because you just grew up in church.
Doing all the right things, checking all the right boxes.
Exactly. Yeah, it was exactly that. I made a decision for myself, and it was after a lot of soul searching and a lot of questioning because I was in a really scientific environment that was quite atheistic. And that's what actually forced me to ask, why do I believe what I believe? And how do I know this is true and all of that? So I commit my life to Jesus, and I know that with it comes some lifestyle changes. I need to stop partying and drinking on the weekends. I need to clean up my language, and I need to stop watching pornography. And the first two things were no problem, but I couldn't for the life of me stop watching porn. And I think that's when I realized this thing was way bigger than I had ever imagined. And so for years, Christine, I'm doing all the stuff that they say you should do. I install an internet filter. I get an accountability partner. I go to small groups and seminars and courses, and I'm reading books and I'm praying more, and I get deliverance ministry and I'm counting streaks. And if there was an option out there, there was no lack of effort on my part. And after 3 years, I was basically in the same place. I maybe went from watching daily to watching weekly, but this was not the freedom that I was really after. This was not the kind of life I had imagined after all the work I put in. And that's kind of where my business and my brand start, because that's where I realized all the advice that everyone's saying out there doesn't actually work. Or if it works for them, but for some reason it's not working for me. And I know I'm not the only one. And so that's when I kind of start to get a little bit more curious about, how do you actually break an addiction, and how do you actually change from the inside out?
And today?
Yeah, we can fast forward. I can talk about what happened in between throughout the interview here.
Well, no, we don't have, we're going to talk about it more, but today you're helping a bunch of
I've been clean of pornography since February 2016. I started Deep Clean, my organization, in 2018, and I've personally helped over 1,000 guys quit pornography since. But between me and my team of coaches, multiple thousands that we've helped walk in freedom, walk in integrity, turn their marriages around, step into everything that's on their life and their calling and purpose. And I think probably more than anything else, we've coined a roots-based approach to this whole subject matter. And people kind of looked at us funny a few years ago when we were talking about that. It made sense, but they didn't understand what it looked like. And I think the thing I'm the most proud of is that I feel like when I talk about a roots-based approach to healing sexually, the world actually kind of understands what that means now. And that's not solely because of us, although our platforms have had a role in it.
Yeah.
But it's been cool to see just the way kind of things have changed the last few years.
Yeah. And for those listening, obviously roots-based is getting to the root of the issue instead of continuing to work at that surface level. There are so many surface level fixes out there, and it seems quick. It seems like, okay, I just want to grasp at that thing that's going to work. We want relief. We want it. But I'm with you. It is my jam too. I want to get to the heart of the issue, because if we continue to try to modify behavior without addressing the heart of the matter, we're going to live policing ourselves for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And that's legalism. That's not love. That's not healing. That's just control. And nobody wants to live in that. I do want to start with this. Everybody says we want to be free, don't we? You know, how would you define freedom? I have my own definition. I want to share that, but I want to talk about freedom really and integrity, and invite people into a life of freedom, not just from a thing, but how would you define freedom?
Man, you're about to open a can of worms. You don't even realize.
I love it. I'm like, freedom.
This is the backbone of my entire calling. Same. So Deep Clean is phase 1. I know God has some other seasons for me later on, but they're all built on what I call the freedom ladder. And I'll give a condensed version of it. For me, freedom has become a really big thing. That's been a fun part about getting freedom from pornography, is it's led to location freedom. I have a virtual company. It's led to more time freedom. I'm in control of my time as an entrepreneur. Like, freedom has just become so important to me in so many different ways. I believe that man or woman has freedom in 3 realms. Okay. The external, which is what everybody talks about: money freedom, time freedom, all that. Internal freedom, which is what we're talking about today, getting free of vices and making sure your integrity and character are intact. And eternal freedom, which is that salvation component. And I think we're at our best when we experience freedom in all 3 arenas. For me, my definition of freedom is simple. Freedom is options. And somebody who has no options has no freedom. And not necessarily the more options you have, but the stronger your options are, the more freedom there is. I remember, this is when I was younger, before I got into lifting weights and stuff like that. I had a friend who was really into it. And they were trying to make this point, and they're like, "Hey, you see that person over there? See how fit that person is? I work out with that person. I've worked out with that person a bunch. They can eat whatever they want." They made the statement: they can eat whatever they want, and they'll still look that way. And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And they're like, "Their metabolism is so high, they can't actually eat whatever they want, but they can eat mostly clean and still enjoy some junk food or some desserts, and it's not going to affect them because their metabolism is so roaring and they've built such a great physique."
Yeah.
And I was really struck by that. I thought, wow, that person has options. I had a very regimented, restricted diet. I was a scared of junk food kind of deal. And that person was living in freedom because they had options. And I was not. I was living with this really rigid approach that gave me virtually no flexibility.
Yes.
The first client I ever worked with he wasn't even really a client. He was a friend. This is when I was just testing out my ideas to see if I could actually help people. And I still remember he said, when I see an attractive woman, I can't help but lust or fantasize about her. I can't help but check her out. I can't help but fantasize.
Yeah.
That's the language of somebody with no options.
Correct.
I have one option when I encounter this situation. So when we talk about getting freedom from pornography, all we're really talking about is giving yourself another option in the face of a temptation, in spite of a weekday, no matter what you might encounter in day-to-day life. When you have freedom, you have more than one viable option that's going to lead you to a place of health versus a place of destruction.
Love it. So good. Being free is having options. Yes, we're totally in alignment. I think freedom is the backbone for both of us. Mark and I talk about it a lot, either in the corporate space and leadership and marriages. Are we really free? That is the thing. Are we really free as a people, as a husband, as a wife, as a family? I love that internal, external, eternal freedom. I love the thing, and this is really it. We're given free will. It's not love if we don't have free will. Every day I think about every morning when I wake up, I'm like, oh, I get to choose to love my husband today again. Like I get to choose that he's my one. It's every day we get to decide, who will I love? How will I show up? What will I select? And that is the power of free will. That means that we're living in love. And it also means that we have dominion over things instead of them having dominion over us. It's the power to choose, the authority to choose. That's dominion. That's having kingdomship over yourself. Something that the Lord, and I just want to throw this out there. I've been sharing this a little bit on the website, or on the podcast, but one of the things the Holy Spirit has really been stirring inside of me around freedom is, if I'm sitting in a room, regardless of where I am, can anyone from my past, can anything from my past walk into a room, anything or anyone, without me going, having a visceral reaction, wanting to hide under the table, freaking out, wondering, what are they going to say? What's going to be brought up? Could I sit and have somebody, the accuser, bring up anything from my closet of skeletons and me know that I'm good? And I have a lot of things that I've done in the past that I'm not proud of. We've had affairs. We've gone through addictions as well. We've had so many things happen. I've done many things that I'm not proud of, but I can honestly say, when the Holy Spirit asked me that, how are you feeling? Is there anything in your past? And I asked him, I'm like, is there anything in my past? And it hadn't, he kind of took me through this timeline. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. And it felt so like I'm free. I'm actually free. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not looking over your shoulder of who's going to find out something that we did or said. But that's that internal freedom. That's boom. You can 100%. Say whatever you want. You can bring up all my dirty laundry, lay it on the table, and I own it. I did it. Yeah. I wasn't proud of it. I'm forgiven. I forgive myself. And thank God there's grace. And I'm different now.
And yes, thank God. Yeah, it is an amazing thing. And that is really the measurement. We had a lot of guys. We have a pretty high success rate now. We're starting to quantify it a little bit better. But my group, the group I run, most of the guys are free a year plus right now, the one that we're running. And a guy asked recently, he said, how do I actually know if I'm free? Yeah. And I gave him a very similar answer. I just said, you'll know you're free when you can look your mistress in the face, or you can look at whatever used to tempt you, and you can carry on with your day. That's when you'll know. Yes. So I love what you're saying. I think that's really, really profound.
And I'm bringing this conversation up because recently I've been talking to a lot of people inside of coaching circles and friends and communities and in the church. I'm just going to say, y'all, I'm calling us out because we do this where we're like, you can't ever, if you had a problem with drinking, you can't ever be around alcohol again. You can't. And if you do, the whole world, if you had a problem with sex, you can't ever put yourself in a room alone with another woman. Are you really free then?
Right.
If you can't ever be exposed to the thing, do we live in fear forever? Right? Or are we actually walking in now? And I had this conversation with Jesus lately. You think I have a problem walking into a bar? You think I have a problem walking into the red light district? Wow. You think I have a problem walking in to anything? Well, I've walked into crack houses before. I'm just going to say I've walked into something, but I just see things differently. I don't see the things a man sees. I don't see the things a woman sees. I see through the eyes of Christ. And you know that verse where it says, if your eye causes you to sin, pull it
Catch
out.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people misuse that. Like, you shouldn't be around the thing that tempts you. I do believe there's a season when you're going through healing and going through that where you have to have a boundary. You need to remove yourself from the temptations. But I love that question of how do I know? I think for us too, like we go back in, we don't see the same thing. We see the brokenness, we see the hurt, we see the pain. And now if we're truly leading with the heart of Christ, we're ministering to the same. We're ministering on the streets we once lived on. We're ministering to the person we just were. And it's so powerful. So I just love that. I hope that somebody really receives that.
It's a huge fundamental difference in our approach. And there's a lot of new approaches now that are like this compared to a traditional 12-step model or AA, which again, I think they have actually laid a foundation that we're all building on. So we owe a lot to them. Yes. But I know one of their core tenets is that you're always one bad decision away.
Yeah. Right? And you're always identifying as the thing.
Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, right? Yeah. We definitely don't believe in that. We have a 3-pillar methodology, and our third is shifting your identity, which is the whole thing of the old has passed away and all things have become new. And so that means that I'm not one step away. It means that my old man died a long time ago. My old inner man, he's dead and gone, and he's been resurrected and made something completely different. And as long as I'm operating out of that place, I'm not one step away. I'm actually so far removed from the person I used to be.
I think that's huge. Knowing that you've crossed that land, and then you just have to learn how to walk in freedom.
Yeah, that's right.
How do I walk as a free man?
Yeah.
How do I walk as a free woman? If we believe that's true. Okay. I want to go back to the seats because you were 11. It's not like you had these crazy wounds and something horrible happened to you as a child. Maybe you did. I don't know. I think everybody has had traumatic experiences, but really it was subtle seeds that were planted. Sometimes maybe I work with people who have a lot of deep wounds and things from the past. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
I'm just curious for someone who's in that place, like, where do you start them?
For somebody who's just
in that place where they're like, I got here. It's not somebody just exposed me. Nobody wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to become an addict at this. Nobody does that. Where does somebody begin?
If somebody has come to me, they've already begun. Because it actually takes a lot of courage just to get started and say, I'm struggling. I think I may need some help. And anybody who's willing to do that has my utmost respect, because most guys, unfortunately, are not even willing to take that step. I think there's two things. So like I mentioned, we have 3 pillars, and the first pillar is building self-awareness. And we have a little bit of a saying for each of these pillars. And the saying for pillar number 1 is, if you are not aware, it cannot be repaired.
Come on. Yeah.
So most guys, if you ask, how did you get here? How did you get, I had a guy recently, this is a really sad story. He got caught by his daughter watching pornography. So daughter's out of the house, doesn't trust him anymore, wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
So you know that story? You mean you've heard the story before?
I know that story because I was that daughter.
Okay. You'll have to share your side of the story then. I'd be really curious to hear.
Yeah.
But so for him, and this guy, he's upper management of a big hotel, and he has everything's pretty well constructed on the outside. So I just asked him, why did you do it? Why have you been watching pornography this way for all these years? I just get tempted and I can't control it. So this is the language of someone who he's doing his best, but he just doesn't have enough of an understanding of what's really going on, what's really causing it. And most of it boils down to 2 things: thoughts and emotions. And so building self-awareness is all about, I'm a big believer, and I know you are as well of this, Christine. Yeah. My goal is that my clients don't need me as quickly as possible. And the way that we do that is, number 1, we facilitate major transformation in the time we get together. But the second thing is we impart skills. I want my guys to build skills that last beyond our coaching tenure, that last beyond any season of recovery. And we teach them skills to start labeling emotions and identifying thoughts. That's usually where most guys need to start if they really want to take a roots-based approach. So that would be probably the main starting point if somebody was coming to me.
I agree. I agree with that so much, especially with men. I find like they don't know how to identify what they're feeling.
No. Yeah, we're terrible.
They don't have, what is that? I don't know. And so I'll run from it. I'll stuff it. I'll hide it. I'll cover it up. I'll try to make it go away. And it's so empowering to give language around something, because once you identify something, then it starts to lose its power over us.
Yeah.
Which is so powerful when we call out that thing and separate
Yes.
ourselves from it. Yeah, I was that daughter. Was the one who walked in and walked in on my dad multiple times as a teenage daughter. And this is honestly why I'm so passionate about it today. Is I remember walking in on him, watching videos and masturbating and all the thing. And I felt so violated. I felt like I felt physically and sexually violated. And I'm just going to say this to the men, because I say this. Sometimes you think you're watching that person or you're watching that girl, whatever. That's somebody's daughter. That could be your daughter. And I'm not saying that from a place of judgment, from a place of awareness that in that moment, something happened in me that started to really affect me as a woman, the way I viewed my sexuality, the way I viewed my body, the way I felt about men, the fact that I was so disgusted and repulsed with myself.
Yes.
I wasn't about being disgusted and repulsed with him. I was angry at him, and I didn't understand what was happening. I was shocked, but it really started to affect the way I showed up for myself. And I'm just going to use the word prostituting yourself, because you don't realize it invites something to come in, and then we start prostituting ourselves and exchanging, right? We're trading like a little bit of sexiness to get what we want. And we start controlling and manipulating the men around us. Or I'm sure this works the other way around, because we have a distorted view of sex, of the body, of safety, of emotional. It took me down a pathway that created a lot of pain inside of my marriages, inside of my relationships. I couldn't trust anyone. I rejected my own beauty and my own body. And I had to work that stuff out. And there was so many times, and this isn't my story, it's your story, but I just want to share the flip side of that, because sometimes we think it's my problem.
Yeah,
I'm over here. It's not affecting anyone else. And I'm just going to say, energy doesn't lie. They may not know exactly what you're doing, but an atmosphere is felt in the home. Atmosphere is felt inside of a marriage, and starts to affect everything. Go ahead.
I just want to share something about that, because I just went through something interesting that was reminding me of this. So I just had my second son. When my wife was pregnant with my first son, his name's Judah. When she was pregnant with Judah, everybody thought we were having a girl. And so we did this big gender reveal party. It was my wife's 30th birthday / a gender reveal. And, there's like, I don't know, there's 100 people there. Who thinks we're having a boy? You can like barely hear anybody. Who thinks we're having a girl? And like the place erupts. Everyone thinks we're having a girl. And we open the firecrackers, and it's blue smoke and it's blue confetti everywhere. And everyone's so shocked. And I remember I was so excited. Wow, a boy. I was really excited by the news. I woke up the next day with this pit in my stomach. Oh, something felt like I was bothered. I was bothered that I was having a boy. I was processing it, just talking to God about it, talking to the Holy Spirit. What is this? What's going on here? I should be happy. And I realized, number one, my dad was so impactful for me and my upbringing that I felt a different degree of responsibility having a boy I'm a template. I'm a role model. He's going to look to me to figure out what it means to be a man in this world. And I had such a great example in my own father. I was feeling that pressure. So I worked through that, and I really felt like God gave me the assurance, number one, that I have what it takes, but number two, he as his heavenly father is also going to fill in the gaps. The pressure is off. For the second pregnancy, we didn't find out our gender. We want to be surprised. And I remember thinking to myself, if it's a boy again, I've already worked through some of my deeper insecurities. And sure enough, we find out it's a boy. And again, I feel this, not to the same degree, but I feel this thing in my stomach. And again, so I'm talking to the Holy Spirit. What is this about? I thought that we've been here before. 2 years ago, we worked through this. And what he helped me realize is you can fool one person, right? My son Judah is only going to see so much of me. He's not actually going to see all of me, but he's going to see a lot, enough that I need to up my game. Don't get me wrong. Be exemplary. But now I have a second set of eyes. And now it's kind of like, okay, like between two sets of eyes, you're not going to get away with much as a dad. And it really has, like, I came back from work. I was that classic boss, that classic business owner that took 2 weeks off and came back and changed a bunch of stuff.
Everybody's like, oh gosh, he's coming back.
I'm not usually that guy. My team doesn't have, they didn't have PTSD. They probably have PTSD now from what I just did. But there was so much mediocrity in the business that I was settling for. And I just came back with no mediocrity, no stone unturned. I want to be exemplary in all I do, including how I run my business, but also in the man I become, because I'm of the conviction, and this is where I wanted to kind of just tie all this in, that as dads, as fathers, we're the template that our sons will copy, and we're the template that our daughters will marry.
Yes,
And
100%.
if you don't do it for yourself to walk in integrity and gain internal freedom, do it for them.
Yeah. Come on, guys. I hope you heard that. You're the template for what it means to be loved, what it means to be cherished, what sex means, what all of it means. And it's interesting because that's exactly what happened to me, right? Like I ended up marrying someone that I thought was going to be the knight in shining armor and save me. And he had it all good on the outside. My dad had it great on the outside too. But then I found out 10 years into my marriage or 8 years into my marriage that my ex-husband had a sex addiction and a porn addiction. And that, I believe, came from a lot of deep roots of shame as a young boy, just having to hide a lot of things from his parents, coming from a very controlling family. And again, lots of healing here. I want to be respectful and honorable, but the patterns keep repeating themselves. And because of that, then even my children experienced getting into relationships with the same patterns. Like it's just a generational thing. And so for me, the wars, first of all, we have to learn how to be free. We've got to break that within ourselves, do that healing. But that's the legacy that we get to pass on, is now we get to pass on a healing legacy, right? A identity, a legacy of identity. So a legacy of like healthy sexuality, not a fear of sex, right? And or a fear of don't wear that, don't do this, don't do this. And I'm really hot to trot right now on the trying to control behavior, because I don't know. I have such a heart right now for helping people see it. It's not about manipulating yourself and controlling yourself and twisting yourself up into a knot. To your words were to live this really regimented, restricted life. What is it? It's a heart issue. To me, it's just a heart issue.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. We were having this conversation in one of my coaching calls this week. Somebody was saying, I still don't understand what I'm supposed to do when I see a beautiful woman. Right? Because it's been ingrained into him that it's bad to look. It's bad to look because that's lust, and that leads to lust, and that leads to bad things. And he has some additional, I'll say, like fantasy issues, especially at nighttime. And he's observing that sometimes if he sees somebody beautiful during the day, it can affect his ability to go to sleep at night and stuff like that. So there's some other deeper layers to this. But one of the things I was trying to get across to my guys is attraction and sexual desire is God-given.
Yes.
It's God's design. It would be weird if you
we don't want to water
that
down. Then what do we do in our marriage?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the lie we've all been sold, is just keep it under wraps for the first 25 years of your life. And then one day you get married and like a switch, you just flip it on and it's going to be glorious. But what I was trying to tell them is those fundamental desires are actually God-given. And it's our job to manage them so that when you do see somebody attractive, again, going back to the freedom conversation, the mark of freedom in this area is you can look at somebody attractive, have a conversation with them, and engage with them the same way you would with anybody else. That's how you know you're really managing your own sexual desires and your own attractions really healthily. And I think that we've been taught such a message of suppression and avoidance and kind of just neglect it all in the church, especially, that we get a lot of guys who are do you know who Sheila Ray Gregoire is, Christine? Have you heard of her?
No, I don't.
She's done a lot of research on this. Her research, she surveyed, I don't know, it was a ridiculous number, like 20,000 Christian women, something like that. And she found that women who grew up with really oppressive views about sexuality in church, they experienced the same physical symptoms in their body as somebody who had been sexually abused.
I believe that. The total rejection of the body and the self.
Yes, exactly. And there's actually studies now that show men who view pornography and stuff are more likely to have eating disorders, infertility, like these obscure things that you wouldn't think would even be related to that. But he who sins sexually sins against his own body. Yeah. A temple of the Holy Spirit. And there's ramifications. Our body literally has visceral responses to it.
Oh, so true. Reminds me of The Body Keeps the Score. Gabor Matai has done a lot of book on just understanding the body. I come from a background of holistic health. So I'm very passionate. And that's actually how I got into this work, is because I was dealing with people all the time with physical issues, autoimmune diseases, like chronic injuries. And when you peel the layer back, it was always mental, emotional, spiritual, usually tied to a relationship or some kind of thing that happened to him in the past. And anyways, it's so interesting. One of the things that you're talking about looking, and I do want to ask you some more questions, but I'm like, oh, it's storytelling time with the two of us, and stories are amazing. But I remember part of my healing, and I didn't even think that we were going to go this way, but as a woman, having experienced the flip side of that, because I realized even though I wasn't addicted to porn, I was using sex as a tool.
Right.
I was still prostituting myself. I wasn't selling myself on the street, but I talk about this concept a lot, right? And was afraid of sexuality, afraid of beauty. Like it was something you had to control or manipulate until I became free. One of the things that was so powerful for me was really asking the Holy Spirit to teach me how to appreciate beauty. Beauty, like beauty of life, beauty, like he's just a God who created so many beautiful things. And if you're afraid of beauty, you will miss the depth of what he has. And I was like, I don't want to miss what you have for me. So can you like redefine, like restructure my thoughts, like change my neural pathways? Like I want to see beauty the way you see it. And it's actually a big body of work that I teach women now, is moving out of this place of fear and competitiveness and comparison to being able to just appreciate beauty without having to go. It's like walking through a garden, it's like, is the rose apologizing or afraid of the tulip? And are they afraid of the other flowers? No, all the beauty adds to the place. I don't have to go be afraid of it or rip it out. And last summer I was in Italy. And
I was in Italy last summer too.
You were?
Yeah.
Like this past year or?
2024.
Oh, so good. It's like the place of romance.
Amazing, yeah.
I was in 2024. Mark and I went for a month. And then this year, I went with my mom. I took her for her birthday. She has an identical twin there. But anyways, we were at this thermal spa in Tuscany and it was amazing. And I just felt, I was supposed to go for a bike ride that day. I had this 4-hour bike tour booked and I just felt the Holy Spirit saying, cancel the tour. And I'm like, but I love riding and I'm going to go to all these cool medieval villages. And I just felt like he said, cancel the tour, go for a walk. So I'm literally walking Sathiya in my bathing suit, like with a towel wrapped around me. I'm going to this, like down this path and this little sweet gentleman, like probably in his 80s, just stops and starts speaking to me. And I go on to find out that he's a professor of engineering and economics. And he's also a poet and an artist. And he's just starts speaking to me about beauty and how much he appreciates it. And just like we ended up talking for almost 3 hours.
Wow.
He's like, will you walk with me? And so we ended up walking into this village next door. And I want to tell you, like, there was such a beautiful exchange in that conversation. He's just, I just appreciate your beauty so much, the beauty of your soul and your spirit. And you've just brought me so much joy to be able to have this conversation. It's rare that you can walk and speak to someone and just exchange goodness and beauty. And he remembered telling me, whatever's beautiful, whatever's good, whatever's true, Christine, focus on that. Yeah. And it was almost like this angel came out of nowhere and just like talked to me for 3 hours and then left. And I came back, I wrote so much, but it reminds me of the verse in Philippians. It's whatever's good, whatever's worthy, whatever's true, focus on those things. But I'm tying all that in because we don't appreciate beauty because beauty has been distorted and we've become afraid of it. Instead of, is it good? Is it pure? Is it beautiful? Can I just appreciate it for what it is? Yeah. And then channel my desire in a different direction. That's power. That's dominion and authority. I wanted to share that story. I love that story. Okay. I want to go back though to what you were talking about. So the men that you work with, what is the root? Is there a common root? What are the through lines that you see? Obviously, you're saying pressure, being stuck in their head. Like, what are the through lines? What are the commonalities?
Yeah, I think there's pressure and stress for sure, but even that is relatively superficial because we all have pressure and we all have stress.
Yeah.
I think, again, the 3 pillars that are in our system combat the 3 biggest issues that most guys have at a root level, which is a lack of self-awareness or a lack of emotional maturity, trauma or wounds from the past, and then core lies or a faulty belief systems. So those are the 3 areas we focus on the most. That's what all of our tools, all of our time together, it's usually focused on a combination of those. And I would say for people that are listening to this podcast, which I know are generally people that own businesses, people that are executive levels high up in leadership, where we see the greatest breakthrough, I mean, we talked about self-awareness, very, very important. I would just say that's necessary skill building. It's probably not where the greatest breakthrough happens in addressing trauma and shifting your identity.
Yes.
And the identity piece is a big one because most people that are high performers attach their worth to their ability to perform. And we all, like, again, if you grew up getting affirmation for academic achievement like me, or maybe you didn't, but you start to get affirmation later on in life for achievement in business or career, your value can get very quickly tied to your performance, your profit, and your ability to produce. And so, yeah, we've worked with NBA players and surgeons and business owners and all. And I would say that third pillar of shifting your identity, being able to parse your identity from your performance, that's a game changer for a lot of guys. They start to behave very differently. And as I'm sure you know as well, when they know their true identity and their true worth.
Identity is everything.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of everything. I had somebody ask me last week, like he was saying, I'm lost. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm like, what's my purpose? I said, that depends. Who am I talking to? Which version of you, right?
Yeah.
Is it the version of who's asking the question? Before we try to find out what's my purpose, we have to figure out who's asking the question.
That's so good. Yeah.
Right? But I love that identity. So a lot of them are lost in an identity that is external, attached to the external.
Yeah.
Unaware of being able to, I love that. It's emotional awareness, right? Emotional EQ, basically, of what is going on inside of me. And am I willing to address the things of the past? That's awesome.
Yeah. But it's also being able to know your value or feel the same way about yourself when your company isn't profitable, when you're unproductive, when you're not doing the things that you're not performing at the level you want. It's still understanding you have value and not being driven by the insecurity and the shame and everything else that comes with it, because it's the insecurity and the shame that actually drives us to do things like watch pornography and engage in other
we went there.
behaviors.
I was going to say, can we talk about the shame for a minute? Because shame is a beast. The spirit of shame, the feeling of shame. I do believe in deliverance and the spiritual work and the spiritual war underneath.
Absolutely.
I do believe we're in a war. We have to understand that we are warring against spirits, and all these things come from somewhere. They don't come from within. They were planted there. They're programs that were planted. Let's talk about the beast of shame for a minute, because I don't think people realize how big. They know that they're operating in it, but they don't understand like what it is, how it operates. How do we break free of it? These are big questions. We could do an entire workshop on this for days. But let's talk about that. And I don't have a specific question for you necessarily. First of all, what are some symptoms, that I'm operating from shame, that I'm in bed with shame? And how do I start to separate myself from it?
Yeah. So I think the marker of shame is always hiddenness. It's that you stay hidden. I think in our context for the conversation today, for a top performer, shame looks like only putting the best foot forward. You're so used to making sure everybody thinks the best of you that nobody sees the flaws, nobody sees what's actually going on. I think that's the marker that you're operating with shame. Now, again, the whole world doesn't need to know your dirty laundry and everything. Yeah. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm suggesting is that there is at least one person in your world who knows what's going on. So I think when you're hiding, and actually we've even had clients do this with us. They come to us. We're the people supposed to help them quit pornography, and they hide from us. They don't tell us what's actually going on. And we're like bank tellers with dollar bills. Like we can
spot a counterfeit.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And that's part of my responsibility as a coach, is to know, how do I make this person safe enough to actually just tell the truth and not shame them worse for hiding, right? Because you can react poorly as a coach and make things worse. So I think hiddenness is the big thing. That's the true marker. If you're hiding in any way, shape, or form, or if there's something in your life that you said, I will never tell anyone about this. I will take this to my grave. That's something we hear very common in our space. Those are all markers of shame. Maybe one layer deeper. This was really helpful, something I learned in my training. Guilt is when you feel bad about what you've done. Shame is when you feel bad about who you are.
Come on. Yes.
So when you believe that something is fundamentally wrong with you, that is really the ultimate lie that shame will tell you. So I think those are some of the indicators of shame. If you want to break out of shame, it's very simple. The dark things must come to light.
Come on, let's go.
And so again, it doesn't have to be with the world. I had John Eldridge on my podcast recently, and he gave me a gift He gave me a gift. He said, guys don't need, women need social groups and they need circles and they need communities.
Yeah.
And he said, it's not that guys don't need communities, but guys really need one or two solid key relationships that they can build everything else on. That was a gift for me. And the thing, and he said this, I was really surprised, but he actually said it can be virtual or it can be in person. It doesn't all have to be in person, but he said the quality of the friendship matters more. And so if you have one person that you can talk to about your challenges and your struggles and the things you're going through, that is a gift. And that's how you break out of the shame. It usually for guys, it's little by little. You don't have to dive in head first. In fact, sometimes when guys dive in head first, I'm a little bit more concerned because it becomes less sustainable. I like the incremental gradual, let's open up, let's start to unpack it, let's talk about it together. And the more you can experience that in a communal environment, I think the more healing it is. Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians, bad company corrupts good character. It's a fascinating statement. Bad company corrupts good character. You could do everything right, have really high integrity. And if you're not around the right people that can handle what you're going through, that can create space for it, that can not judge you for what you're going through, if you don't have those right people, then that can actually make even your best of character worse. Yeah, way worse.
Yeah.
And so finding the right community is really powerful as well.
I couldn't agree more. Going back to what you said about the counterfeit, when you've lived it and you've used those strategies yourself, and I'm going to raise my hand.
Me too.
That's why I can smell it. I'm like, I'm familiar with that operating system. Like I can see it. It's obvious. And it's not from a place of judgment. It's because I know it. I was using it. And so it's got a way that it looks, it smells, it operates.
It just
and so
feels a certain way.
I just think it's really important to get support from people who have been there before, that can relate, that can truly understand. And I love what you said about bringing things to light. That for me was so transformed. I've walked through so much healing from so much stuff of the past, sexual and other things. But whenever you bring those things to light, it's that love covers the multitude of sins. Like the transformation happens when you're wrapped, first of all, bringing those things before Christ. He knows anyways, like I'm not hiding anything from him. I'm over here praying for something. And I just want to say this often. I'm working with someone and they're praying for something in their business, or they're praying. And I've had this multiple times. They're praying for something in their business, a breakthrough or something over here. And I have to ask, what is going on? Is there anything hidden inside of you that is creating a block to your ability to hear the voice of God, to receive? Because God doesn't work in linear. He's not, go over here, be praying, be executing, be getting things done. There might be this thing, this conversation that needs to be had, this thing that needs to be brought to light, that once you do that is going to unlock it's going to open a door over here. And I'm just sharing that because that's happened in my life so many times where I was like, God, I'm praying for this. I'm praying for this thing. And he's like, he's like, you got this other thing that we get to deal with. And even last year, like Mark and I went through this where I just felt like the Holy Spirit was really working on me to bring something up from my past that I'd never shared with my husband. I'm like, I was like arguing with him. I'm like, but this is from my past. I'm already healed. I'm good. And he's like, no, you're going to have this conversation. And I was like, I was terrified. I was terrified to have the conversation. I was terrified because I didn't want to bring it up. I was terrified because I was like, I'm done with this. Like I've never gone back. And I honestly was also terrified what's going to come up on the other side. I don't want to know. Yeah. But do you know what I'm saying? If I open a can of worms, then what kind of can of worms is going to open on the other side? Well,
just so you know, Christine, this is what most married men struggling with pornography go through as well, right? Literally the exact, just obviously inverted. But if she finds out about what I'm going through,
what am I going to find out about?
Or how is she going to react? Is she going to leave me? Am I ruining our marriage? Am I about to lose access to my kids because she's going to take them away? Right? There's all these concerns because you don't know what's going to happen.
And I get it. And for me, it was like, you got to be willing to lay that down on the altar and let God do what only he can do. I don't think I'm curious your thought. Do you guys encourage total transparency with their spouse? Because I know from my own life, our marriage is so much stronger, so much more united because we laid the thing and we walked through some hard seasons. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious because I know that some people are like, okay, you don't have to tell your spouse as long as you work it out.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Lots. It's Proverbs. I was just pulling it up here. I wanted to make sure I get the right verse. It's Proverbs 28:13. He who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. So I think the question is, do you want to prosper?
Do you want to prosper? Yes.
Do you want to prosper? If the answer is yes, then you just do whatever it takes to prosper. It's impossible to have a healthy marriage when things are hidden.
Come on, say that again.
It's impossible to have a healthy marriage when things are hidden, right? So if you want to prosper, that would include having a healthy marriage. If you want to feel confident in your own skin, if you want to think of how productive and maybe prosperous you might already be in certain areas of your life. There's actually more for you available if you're willing to confess them and forsake them. And so here's what we always say to our guys who are asking this question or wrestling with it. In a relationship, you're always making deposits and withdrawals, right? There's a relationship bank account. And obviously the goal is always to make more deposits than you do withdrawals. We want a positive balance in the bank. When you have hidden things in your life, sexual sin or otherwise, when you have hidden things in your life, there's only two ways that it ends in your marriage. Either you confess or you get caught.
Come on, yes.
Both of them are a withdrawal. Yes. Only one of them is a deposit. When you get caught, it's only a withdrawal. It's only a withdrawal. All the worst things that you can imagine happening happen when you get caught. But when you confess, not that it softens the blow, because it might be something difficult to hear. But the reason it makes a deposit is because you chose to be upfront about it. And that says something about your integrity.
Yes.
And that's what gives you a chance to prosper. That's why he who confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. Because in the process of saying, hey, I made this mistake, but I am coming clean with it, mercy is there. It may not be the first thing you get, but it's available, right? And it will come.
Yeah. That's so good. It's so true. There's only two ways out. Everything that's hidden will be brought to light. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
And I've seen this over and over again. And I could say that also from being a woman on the receiving end of the confessions. And also on the other side of it is that it's horrible to hear the things that you don't want to hear. And also there is a supernatural grace. There is a supernatural grace of God. If we're believers and we really are open to know that, like, there's no way we can go through that in our own strength. It's only by the grace of God. And all of a sudden he gives us a heart to see things differently. He gives us the ability to forgive that we just don't even know that, like, where am I going to get that from? And so I'm speaking now as a woman, even after what Mark and I've gone through with exes and stuff. It's like, there's such a higher level of respect when we are able to tell each other the truth. And honestly, the other question is, am I someone who is safe with the truth? Because it is a two-way street. We need to come clean. And also to the other spouse, sometimes maybe you're listening and you're like, I don't have this problem, but I know my husband does or whatever. Am I someone who's safe with somebody coming and actually telling me the truth? Or do I freak out and scream and throw temper tantrums and threats? And we have to be both, right? We have to be trustworthy and safe. And I think that's really the key to us getting to that prosperous place. So many good things. I love this conversation. I love what you're doing. How can people get involved with you and figure out what you're doing, be part of this?
Yeah. If you're listening and you need to move and you need to move now, you can go to my website. You can book a call. We'd love to just see if we can help you. I think if people just want to find out a bit more about us and get some resources, that's what we always recommend. Podcast is called The Man Within. And I've written a book that details my whole system, the system I've been talking about today. And you can get that for free at thelast.relapsebook.com.
LastRelapseBook.com.
The
Last Relapse Book. I think I should get some copies of that and send it to some of my clients.
Yeah,
I love to have books to send to people, just because sometimes a book is a great way. You can have that in the privacy of your home or whatever and work through that without having to have a conversation yet or anything like that. But
that's right.
It's good. It's good. I always enjoy speaking to you. I love your heart. I appreciate who you are. You have such a light about you. So I just want to say that I really do appreciate it. I enjoy these conversations, and I hope this is not our last conversation,
Definitely
or maybe we'll work together in some capacity, because we definitely have a lot of overlaps. But I love the fact that we're on the same mission at the end of the day to help people really leave bondage. We didn't even get into the spiritual warfare side of things, but maybe we can have a second conversation around that. But really, you guys, we were created to be free, not to live in bondage, not to live in slavery. And we have a choice every day. Yeah. So any final thoughts as we head out that I did not tap into, or anything that's on your heart to share?
No, this has been amazing. I think the last thing I would say is, when I was early on trying to quit pornography, I remember thinking, if I could just twist God's arm the right way, maybe he would set me free. If I just prayed the right prayer, if I just behaved well enough. And one of the things that really changed my mindset along the way was realizing that God is more excited about my freedom than me.
Come on.
And I just want to say that to anyone who's listening still to the very end here. God is more excited about your freedom than even you are. And so every time that you make a decision, whether it is starting with an internet filter or something like that, whether it's listening to a podcast or getting the book or whatever it is, every time you make an effort, you are partnering with the living God who is giving you all the strength, all the resources in the world to do this. You have what it takes. And when you partner with him, God can do the impossible. Lean into him and just know that freedom is possible for me, for sure, and it's possible for you as well.
Yes, amen to that. We're already free. We just have to learn to walk it out, right?
That's it.
That is it, you guys. It's like we are already free. We just have to learn to walk it out. Thank you for being here. If you guys enjoyed the show, make sure that you like, subscribe, forward this to somebody else that maybe needs to be in this conversation with you. As always, we appreciate you. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.